Hello friends, welcome back to the Oracle Integration Cloud Training Program. So this video is a part of lesson 2 and here we are going to cover the SOAP adapter and then how we can convert external REST API into the SOAP API. So for this lab actually what we are going to use a available API which is available over the internet and the URL is https://json placeholder.typecode.com/users/1. So when you hit this API into the browser, it will give the corresponding user's detail. If you pass 2 instead of 1, then the details will be different. If you pass 3, the details will be different. So we are going to use this external API. So for this video, we are going to use a SOAP adapter as well as a REST adapter. So for this REST adapter, we will call this external REST API, and using that SOAP adapter, we will expose the REST API in the OIC, which will hit that REST API, get the data, and will send the response as part of the SOAP service response. Okay, so let's see how we can achieve this. So I will jump into the Oracle Integration Cloud. So here I have just logged in into the Oracle integration and I will move to the connection because I wanted to create two connections. One is the REST connection and second is the SOAP connection. Okay. So first of all, I will use a REST connection. Okay. Now I wanted to call this external REST API. Okay. So I will create a REST adapter. Just click on a create button and here we'll select the REST. Click select this REST adapter and here you can give a name and I can say call, I can say REST external on learning and here you see the identifier will be picked up automatically. Now since I wanted to call that external REST API, the role will be invoke. When I will click on a invoke and then just click on a create button. When you click on a create button, here you can see it will ask you to provide certain details. But in my previous video, when we have created a REST with the help of trigger role, it has not asked any detail because the API will be exposed in a OIC, hence it has not asked any detail. Now you wanted to call the external API. So we have to give certain detail. What is the URL? What is the endpoint? What is the username and the password to call that particular API? Now here all these things are divided into two sections. One is configure connectivity and second is security. In this connectivity detail, we have to give the connection type, TLS version, connection URL, and these two more properties. Few properties are the mandatory properties which you need to define, few are optional. Okay, the connection type and the connection URL are the mandatory properties. So here in the connection URL, if you select this, there are 4 values: REST API, metadata catalog URL, Swagger definition, RAML. So it totally depends on the vendor which type of API they provide. Since I have the REST API base URL, so I will opt this REST API base URL and I need to enter the connection URL. And here I only take the base URL which will compromise the https://host name. Okay, and then I will paste it over here. Make sure the backslash is not there in the last. So this is my base URL. Every REST connection should be created with the help of base connection of the external API. Optionally, you can choose the TLS version, whether it's a 1.1 or 1.2. You can enable two-way SSL or you can provide the identity key store alias name. So both are optional. As of now, it is not required. So I will just click on the OK button. Now I need to provide the security details of this particular API. So the API can be secured with different security policy. So if you click on a security configure security button, a pop-up, a dialog box will be opened which will show a drop down a security policy. Here if you click on this drop down, it shows different policies which you can opt, like basic authentication, OAuth client credential, OAuth resource owner, OAuth authorization. There are different policies. Now totally depends on the REST API which you are going to consume. If that API is secured via OAuth, and there are multiple policies of OAuth as well. So this will be given by the third party vendor only, then accordingly you have to apply that. For example, I say this API is secured by OAuth. Okay, let's suppose it is 2 lakh. So I just click on this 2 lakh and all the properties value need to be changed, and here accordingly you have to give that value. Now this API is not secured with any credential, and there's an option as a no security policy. So you can click on a no security policy and it will not ask any detail, and then just click on a OK button. Now agent group is also there. You can call any REST API which is on premise. Okay, if the API is in the on premise, you have to select the agent group. So as of now, this API is accessible over the internet. Agent group is not required. Go up, and here you see now this has been reached to the 85%, which means all the necessary credentials has been provided. Now you just need to test your connection. Just click on a test button. If it is tested successfully, it will reach to the 100%, which means connection is tested and ready to use. Now just save it and then close. Okay, now my external REST connection has been created. Now I wanted to expose a SOAP API, so I will use the SOAP adapter, and here I will search a SOAP adapter. Okay, click on a SOAP and then select. So same ways you have to give a name. I can say SOAP connection. Okay, and then same ways the identifier will be picked up automatically. Same ways you can give trigger, invoke, trigger, and invoke. If you are going to create a REST API, SOAP API, then you have to select trigger. Same way, if you wanted to invoke any external SOAP API, you can choose invoke. So I will choose trigger because I wanted to create a SOAP API that will be inbound. Click on a create button. Once you click on a create button, it will ask the WSDL URL and then security policy. Okay. So here you have to just click on a configure connectivity, and here you have to give a WSDL file. Okay. So there should be a WSDL file which should be handy, okay, before you create a SOAP connection. So I already have a WSDL file which I'm going to upload, which I will show you here in my Notepad++. So here you see I have created a file with name user.wsdl, which will have a request ID and then response. In the response it will give name, username, email, phone, and then website. And then I have fault element as well. I have port type user service port, and under this port type there is a operation. In this operation I am just passing the request port and then response port. Okay, the request port will have the request, and this request is binded with this particular element request. So this request will have single element as ID. Same ways we have response as well. If this response is this response. Now this is the WSDL. I will use this WSDL in my SOAP connection. So go back to the SOAP connection. Okay, now just click this checkbox and then upload that file. So here you see the upload button will be there. Just click on the upload button and then choose file from your hard drive. So here I have selected that user.wsdl. Upload it, and this is the optional parameter. I'm not going to select it, and then click on the OK button. Here you see the username and the password token. Just click on a configure security. There are different policy you can select, like basic authentication, username, password token, no security policy. So okay, default is username, password token. You can take anything and then click on the OK button. So even if you select no security policy, the SOAP API will be secured with basic authentication. Okay, so username, password token, and then click on the OK button. So every REST API and a SOAP API which you create in a OIC will be authenticated with the basic authentication. Okay, now you see this has been reached to 75%. Then click on a test button to test your SOAP connection. Okay, now once you click on test, a dialog box will be opened where it says validate and test, test or cancel. So if you click on a validate and test, that WSDL which you have provided will be validated, and it may take a little time. But if you click on a test, the connection will be tested. Now I will click validate and then test button. Now the WSDL which you have provided will be validated. If it is validated, the connection will be tested and bar will reach to the 100%. Now just save your connection and then close. Okay, now my both the connections are ready, SOAP as well as REST. Now go to the integration. I'm going to create an integration with the help of app-driven orchestration pattern. Click on the create button. Here I will select app-driven orchestration pattern, and here we'll give the certain basic details like name, identifier, version. So I will give SOAP to REST integration learning, and then you can give the identifier. The version is by default 1.0, and then you can give the description optionally, same way as the package, and then same way as the keyword identifier. Now just click on a create button. Now once you click on a create button, you will be landed onto the integration canvas, from where you need to drop the trigger connection. Okay, now here you can see all the trigger connection only. All the invoke connections will not be shown here. It is because we are sitting on the rest, we are sitting on the trigger point. Okay, so my trigger point will be SOAP connection learning, which we have created. Now just select it, and then dialog box will be opened. Now on this you need to give a certain details. Okay, now you can give the endpoint. I'll say endpoint name user service. Okay, and optionally you can give the description. Click on the next button. When you click on the next button, the WSDL which you have given in the SOAP adapter, okay, all the metadata will be fetched from there. Okay, if there is single port, single operation, okay, that will be there only. If there is different operation, different port type, there will be a drop down. Then you need to select the corresponding port, then corresponding operation. Since this WSDL have only single port and then single operation, so default operation and then default port type has been selected, and corresponding request object, response object, and then port object. Now just click on the next button, and then simply click on the next button from the screen, and then finish your SOAP wizard. Now with this wizard, okay, mapper will come up. So I'm going to use, this is the response mapper. The mapper which is just below the adapter will be treated as a response mapper. Okay, now just save your integration. Now my SOAP adapter is configured. I wanted to call my REST API. So either you can just click on the plus button and search your REST adapter, or you can click on this invoke, go to the REST, and then just drop it here. Once you do this, the wizard will be open where you need to provide certain details. Let it be open. Okay, now I'll give call user API. You can give any name, you can give description, and here you need to give endpoint relative resource URI. This relative resource URI should be matched with your third-party application. So this is my REST relative resource URI, which is having /user/1. One is dynamic. 1, 2, 3 is my template parameter. So I will select this and then give it over here. Okay, 1 is a dynamic, so it will be a template parameter. So when I create a template parameter, you have to give in a curly braces. So I can say here user ID. Okay, user ID you can say, and then this is the get operation. So I have to select the get only. So whenever you give a template parameter, this checkbox will be selected automatically. Now this API sends a response. So I will select this, configure this endpoint to receive the response, and then simply click on the next button. Okay, now you will be landed onto this request parameters page. Here you see we have given a template parameter user ID. From here you can change the type. So let it be string, and then click on the next button. Once you click on the next button, you will be landed onto the response page, and here you have to give the same structure which this API provides. So I'll just copy this. It should be the matching response. It gives in the JSON. So I have to select JSON and then just give a inline. So what you can do, you can create a .json file and then you can upload it as well. But I will use this inline operation and then this one and then okay. Click next and then finish your wizard. Now your external REST API wizard has been completed. Save your integration. Okay. Now this mapper is associated with this adapter. Here you see the call user API and here you see call user API. If the mapper is above the adapter, which means is a request adapter, request mapper. Now I will edit it because I need to pass the user ID over here. Now in the mapper, you can see, let it be open. Here you see the request ID, which will be passed as the SOAP API request, and under this template parameter user ID. Okay. Now you just map ID to the user ID, and under this connection properties you can give the dynamic REST API URL and then plugin. I don't require to provide it, and then just click on a validate and then close this mapper. Now just save your integration and then just go down. Now I need to configure this response mapper, final response mapper. Okay, and then edit. Here let the mapper to be opened. Okay, the mapper has been opened, and here you see this is the my SOAP response. Okay, the name, username, email, phone, and website. And here you see is the call user API, which I have given as a service endpoint, and it will have the same structure which I have given as a sample. Okay. Now you can map name to name, username to username. Okay, so let's just try to use this recommendation. Just click on this and see if there is a suggested mapping here or not. Just click on this recommend. Once you do this, here you will notice all the suggested mapping, right? If someone has done this mapping earlier like ID to name, it will suggest you. Okay, now here you see the check mark. Now you can just apply recommendation and this will be auto check. Now just click on apply recommendation, and here you see this has been mapped automatically with the help of recommendation engine. Now, but this mapping is not correct. I'll just delete this mapping and I will do my mapping. So I just wanted to show the recommend how this works. That's the reason I have just taken this recommend. Now just I will map name to name, username to username, email to email, and then phone number to phone number, and then website to website. That's it. And then validate it and then close your mapper. Okay, now your integration configuration has been completed. Now one mandatory step is we need to give the tracking parameter. Okay, as we have given in earlier use case as well. Okay, so this is the mandatory step. So just click on a tracking parameter, and this tracking parameter will have all the source fields. Okay, like I have only ID, just give a ID over here and then save it. Okay, now just save your integration, close it, and then activate your integration. Activate this integration, and here I will select enable tracing and then include payload. Just activate your integration. Now see, your integration has been activated, and at the on the top it will show the visual URL. Just click on this and it will open the visual URL. Now this is the time to test your SOAP API. Okay, now I will use the SOAP UI to test my SOAP API. Okay, now I'll just open the SOAP UI here, and then I will create a new SOAP project. Just click on a SOAP, and here I will give the visual, and then I will give a name, then SOAP learning project. Okay, and then click on a OK button. When you do this, the SOAP API will be loaded, and here you see the user get operation is there. Okay, now there's a one request. Just click on this, and here the XML request will be opened, wherein it will show the ID as a request parameter. Okay. As I mentioned that every SOAP API is authenticated with the username and the password. So I have to enable a username and the password. So here just click on a OAuth and then allow add new authorization and then click OK. And here you need to add the username. Okay. And then password. Okay. Now just click on a header and then click on this add WSS username token. It will add this your username and the password. Okay. Here you see this username token has been added or security has been added into the header section. Now just enter valid ID and then click on this execute. Here you see the response has been returned corresponding to the user ID 1. Just enter another ID and you see the result will be different now. Okay, now here you see the result has been written corresponding to the user ID 2. So this is how you can create SOAP API in a OIC and you can call external API in a OIC. So here I have covered two things. Okay, one is how to call external REST API, and the second is how to create a SOAP API in a Oracle Integration Cloud. So guys, this is all about this particular module. We will jump to the next chapter or the next module. Thanks. Bye bye.